Do you ever sip your morning coffee and notice your heart starts to pound within minutes? Have you ever wondered if your mid-afternoon flat white is the reason you cannot switch off at bedtime? Do you find yourself thinking, why does coffee give me anxiety when nobody else seems to feel this way? Welcome back to our channel where we talk about all things relating to anxiety and our mental well-being. In this video, we will be talking about why coffee can give us anxiety, why caffeine affects some of us more strongly than others, and what we can do if coffee leaves us feeling jittery, panicky, restless, wired, or unable to sleep. If coffee is making you feel anxious, I want you to know that you are not imagining it. You are not being dramatic. Caffeine is a stimulant, and for some of us, especially those of us with a more sensitive or already activated nervous system, that stimulant can tip our body into symptoms that feel very much like anxiety. For some people, coffee feels like a useful lift. It helps them wake up, focus, feel sharper, and get going. But for others, the same drink can lead to a racing heart, shaky hands, a tight chest, restless thoughts, broken sleep, digestive discomfort, or even panic. And I know from my own experience how easy it is to reach for coffee when we think it is actually helping us cope, when actually it may be quietly adding more pressure to an already overloaded nervous system. So let's just start by understanding what is actually happening inside our body. When we say coffee gives me anxiety, what we're often describing is a nervous system response. Coffee does not create anxiety out of nowhere, but caffeine can turn up the volume on systems that already exist inside our body. Caffeine affects a brain chemical called adenosine. Now, adenosine gradually builds up throughout the day and helps tell our body that it is time to slow down and rest. Caffeine interferes with that signal, so the slow down messages don't land in the same way. We may feel more awake and alert, but we may also lose access to the natural braking system that helps us settle. Now, that can be helpful when we genuinely need a boost, but if our nervous system is already close to its edge, that boost can feel more like a jolt. Our heart may beat faster, our breathing may speed up, our muscles may tense, our body may feel restless. And if we have a history of anxiety or panic, our mind can start very quickly asking us what's wrong. Caffeine can also increase the stress hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. Cortisol is naturally higher in the first hour after we wake up in the morning, which is one reason many of us already feel a little bit more alert in the morning before we have had anything to drink. But if we add strong coffee on top of that natural cortisol rise, we may get a much bigger spike than our body was expecting. For someone whose nervous system feels calm and regulated, that spike may feel like energy. But for someone whose nervous system is already stressed, tired, overwhelmed, or hyper alert, that same spike can feel like anxiety. This is why coffee can feel fine one day and completely overwhelming another day. It depends on what our nervous system, is already carrying. Adrenaline also plays a part. Caffeine can nudge our body into a low-level fight or flight state. Our heart rate can rise, our breathing can become quicker, and our body can prepare us for action. These sensations are not dangerous in themselves, but they can feel almost identical to the early signs of anxiety. And once our mind notices them, it may then begin to start scanning for danger. This is where caffeine anxiety can turn into an anxiety spiral. The caffeine creates physical sensations. The mind notices these sensations. Then we start checking. Why is my heart racing? Why do I feel shaky? Am I about to panic? Is something wrong with me? And the more we scan, the louder the sensations can feel. So before we go any deeper, if this is already making sense to you and you would like to understand your own anxiety patterns more clearly, my name's Jennifer Roblin. I'm the founder of Better Your Life, and I'm an anxiety specialist and therapist. And I've helped thousands of people overcome anxiety and begin to feel calm, confident, and back in control again. You can find some free resources in the description, including our anxiety quiz, our window of tolerance workbook, our anxious thoughts diary, and our circle of control and influence workbook. If you're not sure where to start, I usually suggest the circle of control and influence first because it helps us separate what we can change from what our anxious mind is trying to control. You can access those through the link in the description. Now let's talk about why coffee affects some of us so much more than others. You may know someone who can drink 4 espressos a day and sleep perfectly well. Then you may have half a flat white at 10 a.m. and feel like your body has gone into emergency mode. That does not mean it's all in your head. It means your body may process caffeine differently. We all metabolize caffeine at different speeds. Some people clear caffeine quickly, while others clear it much more slowly. For slower metabolizers, caffeine can stay active in the system for many hours after 1 cup. So that coffee you had late morning may still be affecting your body later in the day, even if you no longer feel obviously caffeinated. Our current nervous system load matters too. If we were well rested, well fed, hydrated, and emotionally steady, we may have more room for stimulation. But if we are sleep deprived, overwhelmed, grieving, recovering from illness, hormonal, under pressure, or already anxious, our system has less spare capacity. On those days, that same cup of coffee that usually feels fine can suddenly feel too much. This is why coffee may suddenly start giving us anxiety, even if it never used to. Our tolerance is not fixed. Our nervous system changes depending on stress, sleep, hormones, food, hydration, and whatever else is happening in our life. At the height of my own anxiety, I was drinking several strong coffees a day because I genuinely thought they were helping me to function. I would have coffee when I woke up, on my commute into London, at my desk, and during meetings. At the time, it felt normal. It felt like part of getting through the busy, high-pressure day. But looking back, I can see that it was also feeding the palpitations, the broken sleep, and that constant feeling I had of being switched on and on edge. Hormonal shifts can also make a difference. Many women notice coffee feels stronger in the week before their period, during the perimenopause, or in early pregnancy. Hormonal changes can affect how quickly we clear caffeine, which means our usual drink can suddenly feel much more powerful than it did before. Dehydration can also make the symptoms worse. Coffee can have a diuretic effect, so if we drink it on an empty stomach with no water, we may feel lightheaded, foggy, shaky, or on edge. And when our body feels strange, the anxious mind often tries to explain it as danger. Our gut matters too. Coffee before food can absorb faster and hit harder. If our digestion is already sensitive, caffeine can amplify nausea, churning, loose stools, or that hollow, uncomfortable feeling in the stomach. Those sensations can easily be mistaken for anxiety, especially if we're already scanning our body. And this is not just about coffee. Energy drinks, pre-workout powders, strong cold brews, stimulant weight loss drinks, and some strong teas can all affect the nervous system too. Energy drinks can be particularly difficult because they often combine high caffeine with sugar, taurine, and other stimulants. That combination can hit the body quickly and leave us feeling wired, shaky, and unsettled. So if you do notice anxiety after energy drinks, it is worth listening. Our body may be telling us that the stimulant load is just too much. When I began changing my own coffee routine, I did not do anything dramatic. I started drinking water first thing in the morning, often with lemon, rather than reaching straight for caffeine. I stopped having coffee on an empty stomach. I kept coffee to a smaller window between late morning and early afternoon, and I noticed my body begin to feel less reactive. I still enjoy coffee now and then, but no longer runs the show. That said, I also want to be honest, changing coffee helped settle the surface system, but it was not the whole answer. The deeper change comes from doing the inner work on the root cause of my anxiety. Coffee was one part of the picture, but it was not the whole picture. And this is why I always encourage people to look at both the surface triggers and the deeper nervous system patterns underneath. I had a client recently who described a very similar pattern. He was drinking a strong coffee on an empty stomach within 20 minutes of waking. Soon after, he would feel dizzy, his heart would pound, and he would start scanning his body for signs that an anxiety attack was coming. Within minutes, panic would arrive. Together we made 3 small changes. He ate breakfast before his first coffee, limited himself to 1 mid-morning cup, and drank a glass of water alongside it. Within 2 weeks, his morning panic episodes had more than halved. That was a powerful surface change, and it gave him breathing room. Obviously, the deeper change, the change that meant his panic stopped completely and did not come back, came from the therapy work that we did together. It wasn't just from caffeine. We worked with the unconscious patterns and the old nervous system responses that had been priming him to panic in the first place. Coffee was the trigger, sitting on top of an already overwhelmed system. It was never the whole cause. So let's talk about the signs that coffee or caffeine may be making your anxiety worse. You may feel restless or jittery within an hour of drinking coffee or an energy drink. You may notice heart palpitations or a thudding pulse for no obvious reason. You may feel anxious or hyper alert between cups, then notice a dip when the caffeine wears off. You may find it hard to fall asleep, even when your last coffee was hours earlier. You may feel irritable or short-tempered on high caffeine days. You may notice a churning stomach, nausea, or digestive changes soon after a strong cup. You may experience panic-style sensations after coffee, energy drinks, or pre-workout, especially if you've had them on an empty stomach. And you may notice that you need more caffeine than you used to in order to feel that same lift. If several of those feel familiar, caffeine may not be the only thing driving your anxiety, but it is very likely amplifying it. This is where awareness becomes powerful. Not judgment, not shame, not another reason to criticise yourself, just awareness. Because once we understand what is happening, we can choose a response that actually fits. There is also a difference between caffeine anxiety and anxiety that comes from a deeper, anxious nervous system pattern. Caffeine anxiety often appears within 30 to 90 minutes of drinking a stimulant. It usually peaks and then slowly eases over the next few hours. If you reduce caffeine, drink more water, eat before coffee, and stop having caffeine later in the day, you should notice a difference within a week or 2. Anxiety from an anxious nervous system tends to be more complex. It might be triggered by work, relationships, health, worries, social situations, driving, parenting, sleep, public speaking, or sometimes no obvious cause at all. It does not always follow the timing of your cups. Reducing caffeine may help, but it does not fully resolve the anxiety underneath. The reason this matters is not about willpower, it is about understanding. Cutting back on coffee will not heal a long-held anxiety pattern, but it can free up spare capacity in our nervous system so we have more room to do the deeper work. So what can we actually do if coffee gives us anxiety? The first change is to push your first coffee back by 60 to 90 minutes. This is one of the changes many people notice the fastest. Because cortisol is naturally higher after waking, drinking coffee immediately can create a bigger stress hormone spike. Waiting gives our system time to settle so that the same coffee may land as a lift more than a jolt. The second change is to eat before drinking coffee. Coffee on an empty stomach is absorbed faster and can hit harder. Even a small breakfast can slow that absorption and prevent the shaky, hollow feeling that many people mistake for anxiety later in the morning. Something with protein can be especially helpful because it supports steadier blood sugar. The third change is to drink water alongside your coffee. This is simple, but it can make a meaningful difference. Water softens the spike, supports hydration, and helps reduce that wired but foggy feeling that can make anxiety feel even worse. The fourth change is to switch to a slower release source of caffeine. Green tea and matcha still contain caffeine, but they also contain L-theanine, which can feel calmer and steadier for some people. If you love the ritual of a warm drink but coffee feels too much, this swap can be a helpful bridge. And if you usually reach for an energy drink, green tea or matcha may be much softer landing. The fifth change is to set a personal cut-off time. Caffeine can stay in the system for many hours. For many people, coffee after 2 p.m. affects sleep even when they do not feel wired. If you're highly sensitive, midday may be a cleaner cut-off. And because sleep is so closely linked to anxiety, protecting your sleep can make a huge difference to your nervous system. The sixth change is to use breathing when the jitters start to hit. If you can already feel caffeine racing through your body, slow breathing can help signal safety. Try breathing in for the count of 4, holding your breath and breathing out for the count of 6 and pausing just for 2 seconds. Repeat that 2 or 3 minutes. The longer the out breath helps our body step out of our fight and flight and come back towards calm. The seventh change is to notice the body scan and redirect it. This one is for people, caffeine is not the only issue. The bigger problem is what happens after the sensations begin. We feel the buzz, then we start scanning. Am I okay? Is this panic? Why is my heartbeat beating faster like that? That scanning can turn caffeine sensations into panic. The moment you notice you are scanning, name it gently. You might say, this is caffeine. My body is alert, not in danger. Then turn your attention outwards. Look around the room. Name 5 things you can see. Feel the feet on your floor. Relax your jaw. Let your tongue soften. Drop your shoulders. These small shifts tell the nervous system that there is no emergency. The 8th change is to reduce gradually, not all at once. If you drink a lot of caffeine and suddenly stop, you may experience headaches, fatigue, low mood, irritability, or a temporary increase in anxiety. That can make you feel worse and put you off trying. A gentler approach is to reduce slowly, perhaps by a quarter every few days, while swapping in herbal drinks, decaf, or other drinks you still enjoy. Now, before we go any further, if you are finding this helpful, please do hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications. It helps us create more free content and helps more people find support with anxiety. And remember, if you do not need to struggle alone. If anxiety is affecting your life, you can click on the link over in the description to find out how we can support you. Now, let's talk about coffee alternatives, because cutting down on coffee should never feel like a punishment. For many of us, the ritual matters as much as the caffeine. That warm cup can feel like comfort, routine, self-care, and a pause in our day. So we do not always need to remove the ritual. We may just need to change what's in the cup. Peppermint tea is naturally caffeine-free and can feel refreshing and gentle on the digestion. Chamomile tea can be lovely in the evening for a calming pause. Rooibos is naturally caffeine-free and works well with milk, so it can feel closer to a normal tea. Turmeric or golden lattes can feel warming and comforting. Decaf coffee can be a helpful bridge because it keeps the coffee ritual without the same stimulant hit. Some people also take mushroom blends, especially those with a small amount of coffee flavour but less of the punch. And sparkling water with citrus or fresh mint can be a surprisingly helpful swap for an afternoon energy drink because it gives a refreshing lift without that same nervous system spike. The goal is not to create a strict rule that says coffee is bad. The better question is, how does coffee affect my nervous system at this stage of my day? Because that answer may change. You may tolerate coffee well during calmer periods, then need less during stressful periods. You may find 1 cup is fine, but 3 is too much. You may find coffee is fine with breakfast, but not on an empty stomach. Or you may find your morning coffee is fine, but afternoon coffee affects your sleep. This is where we move from the rules into understanding. We build a better relationship with our body. We notice, we respond, we adjust, and we stop treating our symptoms as if they're the enemy. So if you have already tried cutting back on caffeine, drinking more water, watching your sleep, and anxiety is still there, your nervous system may be asking for deeper support. Coffee is rarely the root of long-held anxiety. More often, it sits on top of a nervous system that learned many years ago to stay alert and on guard. This is the work we do at Better Your Life. We look at the unconscious thought patterns underneath the symptoms. We calm the nervous system at its root, and we help you build a way of living that does not depend on willpower, daily strategies, or constant management. You do not need to figure this out alone, and you do not need to spend years cycling through tips that only touch the surface. So let's just summarise here. Coffee can make anxiety feel worse because caffeine stimulates the nervous system, blocks the slow down signal, increases stress hormones, and creates physical sensations that can look and feel just like anxiety. For some of us, especially those with a sensitive or overwhelmed nervous system, that can be enough to trigger the jitters, panic, racing thoughts, and broken sleep. Small changes can make a big difference. Wait before your first coffee. Eat before drinking. Drink water alongside your coffee. Move caffeine earlier in the day. Try gentler alternatives. Use breathing and grounding when the jitters hit. Reduce slowly if you decide to cut back. And use your symptoms as information rather than a reason to blame yourself. So if you're experiencing frequent panic, ongoing palpitations, or anxiety that is interfering with your daily life, please don't wait until it becomes unmanageable. Reaching out earlier is always easier than reaching out later. So my name is Jennifer Roblin. I'm the founder of Better Your Life. And if you would like support with anxiety, you can click over on the link in the description. You'll also find all our free resources over there. So thank you very much for watching. I really hope that you found this helpful, and bye for now. I'll see you on the next video.